My name is Grace Blake. I'm doing my major in art history, but I do a Bachelor of Arts in Visual Arts.
Project? I think maybe we'll just call it Untitled. A number of sort of 3D printed objects which are like bound together by paracord. And then behind is a large dye sublimation print of a 3D rendered image. That also is actually a cross-section of one of the objects rendered in Blender. They're just black PLA prints. I used the Ultimaker Extended for this one, and for this one here, and some of the smaller ones, I used the dual extrusion, which was really fun because I think I really benefit from having an object that doesn't have much of the support structure. So it can have that very sort of shiny, lush surface, which it gets from just sort of the printing. Otherwise, it can be a lot of cleaning for me because these guys are really detailed. I'm sort of attracted to like a fairly sort of organic form for this project. And I went for some very basic shapes because it was my first time using the 3D printers. And I normally work in a very sort of flat style. And so it was sort of baby steps into working in three-dimensional form. And so everything is sort of very, has like these are very like base kind of torus shapes with modeling done to them. And so just working with those elements and thinking about how I can build on top of that to sort of create this work. And I was interested in binding and sort of rope ties. It's actually featured in some of my early work, and coming back to looking at some of those things that I made years ago, it was something that I thought was successful and that I would carry on. So yeah, I wanted to incorporate some objects that could be part of a kind of a tensioned work. So unlike a lot of the people in the makerspace, I'm an artist and I'm not kind of making components for other projects that like need to be sort of modeled and scaled to a particular size to work. So instead of using CAD programs, I use Blender, which is sort of a more sort of a free form 3D modeling program with sort of more a direct output for things like gaming and character modeling. So these can take quite a long time to both print and to model. On printing time, I've been very lucky that I've had some really long prints. I think this one was 72 hours. I think this one was potentially the same. Most people's use of the space, they're making sort of more simple components, and they can just take, even 45 minutes. But to get the kind of detail and like structural integrity that I'm after in these objects, it can take a while. So yeah, since I'm working in this space, I went with the black PLA for this particular project because the first 3D printed object I worked with was a black ABS that I got printed overseas. MakerSpace doesn't use ABS, so I just thought I'll just sort of try to replicate this old piece and expand this sort of collection of objects I have. So I printed in the black PLA. I'm also thinking about using the laser cutter in the space as well, because I find Perspex to be such an attractive material, and it just is very quick and seems to be very kind of rewarding. For quite a while, what I generate always has had the possibility of being 3D printed, and it was more about having a space or having the mentorship or any of these things to kind of go about doing that. At home, I'm unlikely to go and buy a $4,000 printer and start doing this myself. So the makerspace allowed me to pursue some of these ideas without some of those risks. The printers are like so user-friendly, the programming is also so user-friendly, and to kind of have the materials, so printing in ABS and, oh not ABS, PLA is really cheap. So that was another really like attractive thing about the makerspace, is that I didn't really have to worry about investing money in a potentially failed project. Like printers that I could have bought off the internet, I would have also have had to set them up, and like you can just go into the makerspace and everything's available to you. You can feel like your project's safe there as well. Like even though I was worried about the really long prints, I really didn't have anything to worry about because it's like a really well looked after space. From the students of the School of Art, it's basically on the other end of the campus. And if you have no reason to be around that part of the university, you might actually not know you might not know your way around very well, unless you live on a college or something down that way. It's a bit of like an unknown zone. So I think like when Ella is around at the art school, which I think is 1 day a month, just like, she's very friendly, just like jump on her and be like, hey, how do I get there?